Leaders, have you ever sat down at your desk with a very full to-do list and then somehow at the very end of the day, you've done 100 million things, you're exhausted, but the most important things on your list have still not been touched? And if you're like me, that leader with ADHD, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your brain is going from task to task, and you see everything that needs to be done. You have 100 tabs open on your computer. I'm that person, and I literally had that experience where I couldn't figure out where the music was coming from one day. But prioritizing what matters right now, it can feel like you're trying to organize something like a tornado or a cyclone or a hurricane. Leadership is not about doing everything on your own. It's about deciding what deserves your attention first and what deserves your attention most. And if you don't build a system for that, your day will be just like mine some days. It's going to get hijacked by all of those things that you think are urgent instead of being impactful. Hi, friend. Are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests. Put your leadership in motion and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion. Welcome back to the Empowered Educator Show. I'm your host, Dr. Mel. This is the podcast for school leaders who want professional development on the go. Those real strategies and those leadership insights designed to strengthen your leader systems, your learning systems, and your logic systems so that you can lead with clarity, confidence, and purpose. Leaders, you know that my brain goes 90 miles an hour all the time. I have self-diagnosed ADHD, and it's bad some days. And some days I don't get a lot done because I just can't focus. So I have to have some strategies in place. So today I'm going to talk about this. It's very personal for me. And I'm going to be talking about prioritizing your time as a leader who has ADHD. If your brain works like mine, you probably have 1,000 ideas and 100 responsibilities and about 10 or 20 people asking for something from you at one single time during your day. Your leadership already demands some strong decision making, but when you have ADHD, it can make prioritizing all of those tasks feel overwhelming. So over time, I've built a few systems that help me to stay focused on what actually moves the work forward and doesn't drain me throughout the day. So today I want to talk to you about a few of them. Now I have a lot, but they're all used for different things. So I have 5, the Eisenhower Matrix, my own personal flavor of delay, delete, or delegate, also how I organize my calendar visually, the big, the middle, and the small rock system, and then how I think about tier 1, 2, and 3 priorities over the course of a year. None of these systems are complicated, and they kind of together create some clarity around some issues of not being able to manage your time well, or not knowing what is important, what you need to do, what somebody else needs to do, etc. So remember, these are all things that I use, but you don't have to use all of these. I have added these over time. Start with 1. So you've already heard, or you may have heard, that if everything is urgent, then nothing is urgent. And that's kind of a rule that I've really started to embrace, because in my mind, everything is urgent, especially at certain times during the school year. And that's kind of the basis for the framework of the Eisenhower Matrix. So this was popularized by Stephen Covey, which most of you probably know. If you don't, you need to find out who Stephen Covey is. And it's based on that concept from President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who stated, "I have 2 kinds of problems, the urgent and the important. The urgent are not important, and the important are never urgent." And the Matrix is just his way of dealing with all of those things that were coming at him and prioritizing. So there are 4 quadrants. It's a 2x2. So quadrant 1 is the things that are important and urgent. So they require your immediate attention, and you're going to do these things. These are going to be things like crisis situations, student safety issues, and some critical deadlines. Quadrant 2, they're important, but they're not as urgent. These are going to be your tasks or responsibilities that you plan for and you schedule. This will be things like real-time feedback and your coaching rounds. It's also going to be those weekly meetings like the ones you have with your superintendent, or my principal has a weekly meeting because he is our facilities director. He meets with the custodial director and the maintenance director, along with myself, just to do a quick check-in with them each week and to make sure everybody's on the same page and in the know about what's happening on campus. Quadrant 3 is not important, but urgent. These are the things you're going to delegate. At least delegate for the most part anyway. These are things like emails. Now, you can't really delegate that for the most part because you need to answer your own emails. But other things like small requests or paperwork that someone else could handle. I'm just going to tell you, principals, you are not the person who needs to be creating pretty printouts, bulletins, awards, certificates. That is not your job. You need someone else to do that. Or if you don't want to delegate them, you can push them off and do them later. And then there's quadrant 4. They're not important and they're not urgent. So you probably just need to kick those out and not waste any time on those. So your goal is to spend most of your time in quadrant 2. If you're actually planning and you're scheduling your day, then those other 3 quadrants, they're going to become way smaller and they're going to take up much less of your time. And remember, quadrant 4, you probably just need to kick that out anyway, because if it's not urgent, if it's not important, why are you even wasting time on that? Does it fit within your mission and vision or your goals for your building? And you may not want to think matrix. So you could use my rule, which is delay, delete, or delegate. And once I identify a task, I will run it through my own personal filter of delay, delete, or delegate. Sometimes something just needs to wait. Not everything is a today problem. Sometimes something needs to be removed completely. That would be spending time on Canva creating all of those things that I just told you to kick off, because sometimes leaders carry work that doesn't actually belong to them. So one important thing that you need to do is you need to sit down with all of your staff and decide who owns what jobs and write it down so everybody's clear on it. Sometimes your best leadership move is delegation. You empower someone else to own that task and use their skills to do something. This simple rule keeps me from becoming the bottleneck in my own leadership, because sometimes I do. I'll get too many things in my way and I can't get things completed, and then people are waiting on me and they can't do their own job. Another thing that helps my ADHD brain is visual organization. My Google Calendar is color-coded so I can see my week at a glance and I know what colors mean what. For example, I have like 11D7, yes, and that's my number, 11D7 calendars that feed into my other calendar. So my school calendar gets my personal calendar on it because there are things that I schedule sometimes that I don't want to miss that are personal, but I don't want something to get scheduled on my school calendar. So I connect them all. So nothing gets overlooked and nothing gets scheduled over. The things that feed in from my personal calendar are one color. Everything is that one color. And then I have my leadership tasks that are another color. My personal tasks are purple. My leadership tasks are like a teal color. Choose your own colors, guys, whatever makes sense to you. Then I have our leadership or our admin team colors. It's like a pinkish color. That way it's easy to see at a glance what is what. We also have like the school calendar, just those things that pop up for us to see as an admin team so we know what to talk about during our admin meetings and what things are scheduled, like field trips. And we just did something called One Book, One School, where everybody dropped everything at the same time every day. This is pre-K through high school, and they read a chapter of a book. When you color code and then you look at your calendar, visually, those patterns jump out real quickly. If everything is meetings, you know something needs to shift. If there's no time for instructional leadership, that's a signal too. I have even scheduled my own personal time for professional development and devotional time or time with God. For leaders with ADHD, that visual structure, those visual cues can help reduce all of that mental overload. Then I have my big, middle, and small rock strategy. In my notebook, I have my 3 priority levels. I have big rocks, middle rocks, small rocks. The big rocks are those 1 or 2 things that absolutely must move forward today. They have to be crossed off your list by the end of the day. And they're non-negotiable. Then you have your middle rocks. They're important and they support the bigger priorities. But if you don't get them done today, they become the priority tomorrow. Then you have your small rocks. Those are those quick little tasks, your emails, your follow-ups, your smaller responsibilities. Those things can wait. And this comes from that classic leadership lesson that if you fill the jar with sand first, your big rocks are not going to fit. So you start with the big rocks, then you fill the gaps with the middle rocks, and then you pour those tiny little sand rocks in. That completes everything you need to possibly do in a week's time. My last strategy is the tier 1, 2, and 3 priorities across a year. This is where I zoom out, and I actually have in my Rocket book, I love my Rocket book because you can put permanent marker in there, or I use stickers and decorate it up. If you don't have a Rocket book, you should look into it. Then I create a tier 1, 2, and 3 in my Rocket book. And then I zoom out and think about those priorities across the entire year. So my tier 1, it's mission critical work. These are the things that must happen for this school year to be successful. Then I have my tier 2. They're important for growth. Then I have tier 3. They're the nice to haves, but they can wait. One of my things on my tier 3 is painting my office. It's hideous. It's not very appealing when I have a parent come in, and I want it to look nice. But guess what? It is not happening right now. That is something that will happen much later, probably this summer. Not everything can be at the highest level at the same time. So this system helps me focus my energies where it matters most right now, and then where it matters later. Guys, you're not going to fix your ADHD more than likely. But if you're leading with ADHD, the goal isn't to do that. And you can lean into that because it's probably your creativity and your vision and your ability to see those connections quickly because of your ADHD. Those are your leadership strengths. The goal is simply to build systems that help you focus and do the things that matter the most in the right order. Here's your action step. Take 10 minutes and write down everything that's currently on your mind. Then I want you to sort those tasks into 3 categories: urgent and important, delay, delete, or delegate, and then your big rocks for the week. You don't need a perfect system, guys. You just need something that works well for you. So whatever that is, that's what you need to focus on for a little bit. Choose 1, maybe 2. And as you learn that system and you get it down pat, then you can add another system. Leaders, you just need some clarity over what's important and what order to do them in. Clarity reduces overwhelm. You know that I am all about systems. If you need help creating systems, reach out. Remember, you can click that link in the show notes at the very top, and you can send me a text. Leaders, if this episode helped you think about leadership systems in a new way, make sure that you subscribe to the Empowered Educator Show so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you know a new principal or an aspiring principal or a leader of any kind who feels overwhelmed trying to manage everything on their plate, share this episode with them. Because leadership is hard enough. You shouldn't have to figure everything out alone. And you know, the best leaders beg, steal, and borrow from other good leaders anyway, and I'm okay with that. I hope you are too. Remember, leaders, you don't have to do everything to lead well. You just have to focus on the work that moves people, instruction, and your culture forward. And when your priorities are clear, your leadership becomes clearer also. And remember to keep going that extra mile to motivate, inspire, lead, and empower. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.